So I'm Mary. I'm a member of the Inverclyde panel community, and I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. My role as a panel member means that I'm one of the 3 people at the hearing, reading the papers and listening to what people are saying at the hearings, and then making decisions and giving reasons for those decisions. I had just finished my training and was putting it into practice when COVID struck, and it was all change. During lockdown, I did struggle with the technology, and I can see some people smiling and thinking that's an understatement, Mary. Teams, papers going online, the fact that not all panel members were able to keep participating during lockdown meant that those of us who could had more hearings than we would normally have had. But I knew that help was only a phone call or a WhatsApp message away, and that was very reassuring for me, and gave me the confidence just to persevere, and things did click into place. It wasn't without its difficulties. We had the new technology and we had the updated legislation to grapple with. But as a team, we had a wide network of support, and that meant we could understand the mandatory training. We could implement that at all hearings so that we felt comfortable, but it also meant that the voices of the young people and their families would still be heard, and they could participate fully in the hearings. Having said that, I think one of the positive things that has come out of this is that as a panel community, we have engaged fully with the new technology. I'm very proud that in Inverclyde we were able to keep doing hearings during lockdown, and that I'm a member of a team where we just did what we had to do.
My name's Donald Beaton. I am the lead panel representative for Inverclyde area. I've been a panel member for over 6 years. I've also been rota manager for about 2 years now. As the rota manager and as lead panel representative, I am the link between panel members and the AST, which is the area support team. I make sure that panel members' views are reported back to the area support team. In my role as rota manager, I ensure that the availability from all panel members is collected, and a rota is generated every month in order to support the Scottish Children's Supporters Administration, where we hold our hearings in Greenock. Obviously, with when the pandemic hit and the lockdown started, it became quite obvious that things would have to change dramatically in order for us to be able to continue to support the children and young people in Inverclyde. Quite quickly, the Children's Hearings Scotland started doing virtual hearings, and there's a rollout of equipment which supported panel members in order to connect into hearings virtually, which took time, and it was quite difficult at first for a lot of people. It did affect the rota, obviously. It did affect how people joined hearings and whether they wanted to join hearings. We did lose quite a lot of panel members because they couldn't make the change from a face-to-face hearing to the digital environment. That started coming back in, and I feel that panel members are getting more from that. As time goes on, the reintroduction of face-to-face will be beneficial for everybody.
Hi, my name is Jill. I am a panel member within Inverclyde. I have been a panel member for 6 years now, and at the moment I do chairing as well as being a side panel member. I have a role as a mentor to all trainees, and I have been overseeing that role since April 2020. I joined Inverclyde panel community at a time where there was buddies within the area, and since then we have changed that kind of role and that support, especially in 2020 when the pandemic started, and that role in support is made up of panel members within Inverclyde, and what we do is we assist and support all trainees, and we've assisted and supported approximately 40 to date. When the pandemic started in March 2020, we as a panel community quickly relocated onto virtual hearings, At that point in time, the trainees were halfway through their training, and they were attending face-to-face sessions, and they quickly changed to virtual sessions also. That did present its own challenges, because at that point in time, the buddy group was just getting on their feet, all just trying to help each other and support each other in the role that we were doing. The challenges that we did face as a group at that point in time certainly was just the kind of online platforms that we needed to use, and just working our way through the systems. And obviously everyone had relocated to working from home, and I think broadband was definitely played a big factor in some kind of technical difficulties that everybody endured. So the impact of the pandemic for the buddies and for the trainees, the buddies were all people that volunteered, and it's people that have volunteered because they felt that they had some additional time to give to our panel community. For that, we are forever grateful that people did step forward, because at the end of the day, we are all volunteering, and people did see that as an opportunity to help others, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. And certainly through the 3 years from 2020 to 2022, the amount of trainees that we have seen has been exceptional.
So my name is Chalmers Smith. I am at the moment one of 2 deputy area conveners in Inverclyde. When COVID-19 coronavirus came along, and it sort of crept up on us in a wee bit, and we didn't really think this was going to make a big difference to us, and then when it did, it made a very dramatic difference, and very quickly. A central core of people who appeared within our panel community in Inverclyde who were fortunate that they had the resource, and that really is what it came down to. I'm not suggesting for a minute that some people were more willing or more able, that's not it at all. What it turned out was who had the best broadband. Not only who had the best broadband, but who had the equipment to go with it, because at the time, all of the equipment was self-supplied. We hadn't at that stage got the Chromebooks that were subsequently issued, so we had to have people that had smartphones or laptops that were connected well, and those were the people that took up the slack, and that's where I worked from. So there was that core group that were able to do this. Various reasons that people were unable to get involved, but for me it was about finding people that actually had the equipment and the resource in order to fulfil the hearings. Each of those panel members was having to do many more hearings than they would normally expect to be doing. I myself was one of the people that were doing that, and I would normally be doing a rota which at that time would have had somewhere about 50 panel members, and then I was doing a rota where somewhere about 10 panel members were actually available. And so what it meant was people were doing many more hearings. However, keep in mind that the remote hearings were actually taking less time, generally speaking, in order to achieve the same number of hearings. One of the main difficulties we encountered was the fact that the families generally were lacking in the sort of resources that I'm talking about, that the panel members were lacking, so that the effective broadband and the equipment. And so one of the issues for the panel members was trying to ensure that the family members were able to follow the proceedings within a hearing. This is a skill that you would normally expect panel members to have in a face-to-face hearing, in that they can observe, they can see that people are engaging or not engaging, listening or not listening, and contributing or not contributing. But in the remote environment, it's a completely different skill set that the chairperson is needing to have. Our priority was always to try and make sure that the children and young people within the system were kept safe within that system and not neglected, not left waiting because of COVID-19. And I feel that largely speaking, we managed to achieve that. We ended up with a backlog which has been getting worked through, but at the end of the day, I think that most of the young people and the children who were in the system during and throughout COVID-19 were kept safe and well as a result of the efforts that were made by the panel members and by SCRA. The SCRA staff that we had involved with get engaged with our local training that we developed for panel members. They did the training with us. We developed a system of mock hearings in order to allow people to become familiar with the remote hearing scenario, and we continually worked with our colleagues in SCRA throughout that, and I've got to say that worked very well indeed. And in fact, we're still using those mock hearings as part of the training for new panel members now, and also for new reporters. So that's something very positive that's come out of our experience in COVID-19.
My name's Mo Quinn, and I am the area convener currently in Inverclyde. For my sins, I took it on just at the very start of COVID, but I've actually been a panel member for 9 years. I am so very proud of our community and how we coped throughout COVID. We had everything through us throughout that period of time. All the digital changes that came on us for our kind of long-term panel members, that was a big issue. It was really hard supporting them and trying to help them to understand that they could cope with that, and they did cope with it, and our panel community came together, and it's the closest our panel community has ever been, and we've worked so close with our partners as well, and I'm just so proud that even our trainees who had went through everything they went through slotted in like a part of a jigsaw as if they had always been there. Not only that, the amount of hours that they put in, because we had panel members who just couldn't cope with technology, which put a big weight on the shoulders of our long-term panel members, and they really rose to the occasion, and they were absolutely fantastic. And again, our trainees who were coming in, they adapted from, some of them were actually started their training face-to-face and then had to switch to digital, and they've just became such an integral part of our community, so I'd like to thank them as well for everything that they've done as well. So as we come out of the pandemic, we'll obviously continue to support our hearings, making sure that hearings run in Inverclyde is the most important thing that we do as panel members. We're all volunteers no matter which level we're at, and our primary objective is to deliver the hearings for the families in Inverclyde. They need us to be there. We'll continue to do that. So part of our journey through all the changes throughout COVID has also been taking on a promise, which is a huge change to the whole hearing system. A young person's voices are what a promise is all about. We do work with young people. They help us with our recruitment campaign. We work with them as often as we can, and we'll continue to work with them to help us deliver a promise in Inverclyde. We'll work with our partners from the I Promise team and our partners in social work services in SCRA to make sure that we deliver a promise in Inverclyde.